ఇది పీపీటీ రావట్లేదు. Good morning to one and all. So today we are going to take a class on biotransformation, detoxification of xenobiotics. So in this class we are going to learn about the definition of biotransformation, definition of detoxification, and what are xenobiotics. What are the various types of xenobiotics, and how our body helps us from getting rid of all these xenobiotics. First, to start with, the definition of biotransformation. Biotransformation is a process by which a substance is changed to another by a chemical reaction within the body. Detoxification. Detoxification is a biochemical process whereby noxious substances are rendered less toxic and water soluble. So in biotransformation, the substances are changed to another form, whereas in detoxification, the noxious substances are rendered less toxic and water soluble so that they are easily excretable. Biotransformation can render some substances more toxic than the parent compound. So it is not always biotransformation will cause the detoxification. Biotransformation can either lead to substances that are less toxic, or it can form substances that are more toxic than the parent component. That is called as bioactivation or toxication. Xenobiotics. The compounds which can accidentally get ingested or taken as drugs or produced by bacterial metabolism in the body. These are the substances that we accidentally intake or we take in the form of a drugs, or sometimes they are produced by the bacterial metabolism in our body. And these can be divided into two types: exogenous xenobiotics and endogenous xenobiotics. As the name itself indicates, exogenous means that come from outside, endogenous means that are synthesized on our body. The types of xenobiotics. The examples of exogenous xenobiotics are drugs, food additives, pollutants, drugs, food additives, pollutants, insecticides, and carcinogens. The examples of endogenous xenobiotics are bilirubin, bile acids, and steroids. Bilirubin is an end product of heme catabolism. Bile acids are end product of cholesterol metabolism, and the steroid hormones that are synthesized in the body. So all of these are the substances. These are end products of various metabolic, end products of heme, end product of cholesterol, and when the steroid nucleus fails, the end product of the sterol nucleus. So all these things, they are endogenous. And one more thing is that these three are lipophilic. They are hydrophobic and these are lipophilic. Being lipophilic, they cannot be excreted in urine. They should be made more soluble, then only they can be excreted in urine. So these constitute the exogenous ones and these constitute the endogenous one. We have seen that endogenous ones are the metabolites of the substances that are not soluble in water. Now these are the exogenous one. Now we'll see how we are getting these exogenous steroids into our body. These exogenous xenobiotics enter into our body either by ingestion or by inhalation or by dermal penetration. So the three modes by which the exogenous xenobiotics enters into our body is via the ingestion, via inhalation, and via dermal penetration. What are the various forms of ingestion? The chemicals that we take, the food substances that we take, for which the pesticides are used, chemicals are used for growing and all that. The food that is stored in tin containers, the chemicals that are present in fluoride molecules, the medicines we take for regular treatment. Then some of the substances or some of the food items are stored in plastic boxes that are not BPA free. The BPA is biphenyl A. So this BPA, if they are BPA free, it is safer. But the plastics which are not BPA free, they are more toxic. These are the ways by which the xenobiotics can enter into our body via ingestion mode. Next, inhalation. For those who are working in painting industries, or those who work in paint factories and all that, they are subjected to lead poisoning. Next, smoking. Smoking is one of the dangerous things because each time from the smoke that comes from a cigarette has up to 4,000 toxic substances, and these toxic substances are a danger to active smoker and also for the passive smokers also. Next, the inhalation of the exhaust that comes out of the vehicle, the pollution in the atmosphere. Along with that, the ammonia, manganese that are present in the beverages. The insect pesticides for houseflies and bees, for houseflies, for mosquitoes, we usually spray. The pesticides are insecticides we spray. All of them are potential toxic substances because they are toxic to the insects. So obviously they are toxic to our body also. Then flame retardants. If flame comes, we use that red bottle to decrease the flame. So those flame retardants, all these are the source of xenobiotics that enter into our body via the inhalation. Next, dermal penetration. Dermal penetration occurs when we take the clothes that are dry cleaned. For dry cleaning, chemicals are used. Usually, perchloroethylene is a chemical that is commonly used to dry clean the clothes. So when we wear the clothes through the dermal penetration, this chemical can enter into our body. Next, most common form of the dermal penetration is cosmetics. The cosmetics are usually rich with aluminum and parabens. The body lotions, the sunscreen lotions, the moisturizers, all these things that we apply, they are rich with parabens. So these are the ways by which the exogenous xenobiotics enter into our body, by ingestion, by inhalation, and by dermal penetration. In a research article, E. Donor in 2015, he identified what are the various causes are the human exposures to different xenobiotics. So we are 48% of the xenobiotics that enter into our body are because of the environment, that come from the environment. 15% is from the toxic foods, are the food that has pesticides, all these things that we eat. 15% is from the drugs. The drugs are the medicines that we take for regular or any type of the diseases. 12% comes from the cosmetics and 10% are from other reasons. So if we see almost 50%, 48% of this is mainly from the environment. Now, till now we have seen how the toxins are entering into our body. As I have already mentioned, toxins enter into our body via the lungs, via the skin, and via GAT. Now, what helps our body and how are we getting protected from all these toxins? The liver. The liver is a primary detoxifying organ that is present in our body. The liver is the one that is responsible for removing all these toxic substances because we are, by will or without will, we are exposed to all these toxins. Some are other, not all, but in everyday life we are exposed to some toxin or the other. Then how are we normal? It is because of the excellent detoxification capacity of the liver. Now, what does liver do? Liver will detoxify these toxins and make them less toxic. So these substances are detoxified. They are made less toxic and more water soluble. Once they are water soluble, they can be easily exited out of the body. So they exit out via as perspiration through the skin, as urine through the kidneys, as feces through the colon, or they are exhaled via the lungs. So the liver does the purpose of detoxifying the substances and makes it more soluble in water. Now, so as I told you, the liver plays a very important role in detoxification process. And this detoxification process that occurs in the liver is divided into two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. So the phase 1 and phase 2, these are nothing but the chemical reactions that happen to these substances. Once the toxins, most of the toxins, if they are hydrophilic, they can easily get excreted into the body. The problem comes when these toxins are hydrophobic, that is, they are lipid soluble. When they are hydrophobic, they cannot be eliminated via the urine or via the feces. So for that reason, these toxins, they are lipophilic. So we have to modify these toxins and they should be made more water soluble. And being liposoluble, they can easily pass through the membranes of the hepatocyte, like membranes of any of the membranes, like because detoxification is happening in the liver through the membranes of the liver. So they can easily cross the hepatocytes, they easily cross the membrane of the hepatocyte and they can enter into the hepatocyte. Once they enter into the hepatocytes, these toxins are subjected to any of these reactions. So what are these reactions? They can be subjected to oxidation, they can be subjected to reduction, hydrolysis, hydroxylation, and dealkalization. So they can be either subjected to oxidation, they can be subjected to reduction, they can be subjected to hydrolysis, They can be subjected to hydroxylation or dealkylation. Of these five, the one that occurs commonly in the body are oxidation, reduction, and hydrolysis. These things occur commonly in the body. Now, after the phase 1, the substances that we get, so after the phase 1 is over, it is the substance has not become completely less toxic, but it has to go to next step. Now the toxins, they undergo any one of these reactions and they form substances called as intermediary metabolites. These metabolites are less toxic when compared to the parent compound, but they are still toxic to the body. So these intermediary metabolites, they undergo conjugation with some of the substances. Once they undergo conjugation with these substances, they become more water soluble so that they are easily excretable. So what things they can undergo conjugation? These intermediary metabolites, they can either undergo sulfation, means sulfur group can be sulfate group can be added. They can undergo glucuronidation, glucuronic acid can be added, glutathione conjugation. So when they get conjugated with the glutathione is a dipeptide. The glutathione is a dipeptide which has got gamma glutamyl cysteine glycine. So it has got 3 amino acids, glutamic acid, cysteine and glycine. 3 amino acids are there. So these intermediary metabolites will bind to the cysteine of the glutathione. Other one, amino acid conjugation. The glycine and taurine, are the 2 amino acids that are conjugated, that help in conjugation process. If you remember the bile acids, they are sodium and potassium glycocholates and taurocholates. So the glycocholates, it is nothing but the glycine. Taurocholates, so these bile acids are conjugated with the taurine, they form taurocholates. So in that way, amino acids help in conjugation. Next, acetylation. Acetyl group will be added. Methylation. Methyl group will be added. So what happens when the toxins, they undergo any of these chemical processes, and when they form these intermediary metabolites, they are less toxic, but when compared, but they are not absolutely, the toxicity is not completely gone. Now these intermediate components, they can get conjugated with any of these components, as already mentioned, either sulfation, glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, or conjugation with amino acids, or acetylation or methylation. So when they conjugate with these things, they become completely soluble, they become more soluble, and they can be easily excreted via the feces or via the urine. So once again, the detoxification that occurs in the liver is divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 and phase 2. Usually the toxins have to pass to phase 1, then they go to phase 2, then they are excreted. But sometimes some of the toxins, they can directly enter into the phase 2. They can directly enter into the phase 2. To repeat with, the phase 1 involves these reactions. It involves oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis. These 3 things happen more commonly. The compound that is formed is called intermediary metabolite. Now, these intermediary metabolite will enter into the phase 2. Phase 2 has only one reaction, simple. It is just conjugation. Now, these conjugating agents are different. Up to 8 conjugating agents are being identified. So, phase 1 are the chemical reactions that occur. Phase 2 is a conjugation. The toxin substance usually pass from phase 1 to phase 2, or it can directly go to phase 2. But directly going to phase 2 is less common. Usually the toxins enter into the hepatocytes, they undergo phase 1 modification, then they will go to the phase 2, that is conjugation, and they become easily excretable, and they are excreted via the feces or via the urine. Now, in the next part, we'll detailedly see how oxidation is taking place and what are the toxins that are detoxified by these reactions. To start with oxidation. Oxidation is a more common form of detoxification, that is in the phase 1. The most common form of detoxification is oxidation. Alcohols, aldehydes, aromatic hydrocarbons and sulfur compounds are usually detoxified by means of oxidation, by oxidation mechanism. Now, alcohols. What are the various alcohols? Ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol will undergo oxidation. In the presence of the enzyme ethyl alcohol dehydrogenase. So, dehydrogenase, hydrogen molecule is being lost and it is picked up by the reducing equivalent NAD+. So, this NAD+ will be taking up the H plus ions, it forms the reducing equivalent NADH plus H plus and result in the formation of acetaldehyde. So ethanol alcohol will undergo oxidation in the presence of reducing equivalents to form acetaldehyde. Now, so this alcohol is over. Next, aldehydes. The aldehydes can also undergo oxidation. For that also the reducing equivalent is NAD plus and it is taken up by NADH plus H plus and it forms acids. So when alcohol undergoes oxidation, they form aldehydes. When aldehydes undergo oxidation, they will be forming acids. So this is about the alcohols, aldehydes. Aromatic hydrocarbons. Aromatic hydrocarbons like benzaldehyde. The benzaldehyde that has got CHO, that is aldehyde group here attached to the benzene ring, it will undergo oxidation. It will be forming benzoic acid. So for all these three reactions, NAD acts as a reducing equivalent. It picks up the H plus ions and NADH plus H plus is formed. So oxidation is a more common form of detoxification. Usually alcohols, aldehydes, aromatic hydrocarbons, sulfur compounds and also amines. All these things are detoxified by this mechanism and usually they will have a reducing equivalent, that is NAD plus. NAD plus can be there or NADH plus can, NADP can also be there. But for these reactions it is NAD plus. And when alcohol undergoes oxidation, it forms acetaldehyde. When aldehyde undergoes oxidation, it will form acid. Next, amines. As I already told you, along with alcohols, aldehydes, aromatic compounds and sulfur compounds, amines are also involved in the oxidation process. Now, amines are aromatic amines and aliphatic amines. We get amines when the amino acids are getting metabolized. When amino acids are metabolized, this ammonia goes into the urea cycle and this ammonia is detoxified to form urea that is excreted via the urine. But this amino group, they are also present in carbohydrate. Sometimes the glycoamines, the glycosamines will have amines. Some of the lipids will have amines. So these are metabolized. And along with that, the aniline is present in sprays or something like that. So they can also be, so these are detoxified in this way. Now this aniline is the one that is commonly present in the sprays. It undergoes oxidation to form para-aminophenol. It will get converted to para-aminophenol. Now this OH group, if it has OH groups, it is a bit less toxic when compared to not having any OH group. Next, aliphatic amines. These aliphatic amines are converted to acids. They are converted to acids. Now, aromatic amines are converted to phenols. Aliphatic amines are converted to acids. So here, alcohol is converted to aldehyde. Aldehydes are converted to acids. Next, aromatic amines are converted to phenols. Aliphatic amines are converted to acids. Here we can see this is an aliphatic amine that is converted to an acid, and what is happening to the ammonia here, this amino group here, this amino group is getting converted to urea. Now urea is easily excretable by the body. So this compound is completely detoxified. The toxic effect of this compound is completely decreased. So to repeat with, the oxidation of alcohol will form form aldehyde. Oxidation of an aldehyde will lead to the formation of an acid. If it can be either aliphatic or it can be an aromatic aldehyde. Next, amines. The amines, if they are aromatic amines, they form phenol groups. If they are aliphatic amines, they will be forming acids. Now, aliphatic amines will form urea, and this urea is easily excretable. This is about the oxidation, and the oxidation reactions that we have seen till now will be utilizing NAD+. They have utilized reducing equivalent as NAD+ and resulted in the formation of NADH plus H plus is being formed. Now, one of the most important oxidation process. Now, this oxidation, sometimes we cannot say that oxidation always detoxifies the compound. As I told you, biotransformation is a process in which there is transformation of that substance. Now this transformation can be good to some extent, or it can produce a compound that is much more toxic than the parent compound. Now oxidation of some of the chemicals can lead to the production of the substances that are more toxic than the parent component, like methanol. Methanol, first it will get converted to formaldehyde, then the formaldehyde will get converted to formic acid. Formic acid is much more dangerous and much more toxic when compared to methanol. Ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol can also get converted to oxalic acid. So in that way, it is not always that oxidation will render the substances less toxic. Sometimes oxidation can also result in the production of substances which are more toxic, like methanol can get converted to formaldehyde and which can get converted to formic acid. Ethylene glycol, it can get converted to oxalic acid. Now, the one more important mechanism of oxidation that happens in the body is mediated by cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme. Cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme. It is also called as mixed function oxidase. It is present in microsomes, that is endoplasmic reticulum. Cytochrome P450 is a heme-containing protein. It has got heme as a prosthetic group. Now, what is this number 450? This 450 is nothing but its absorption rate when it is exposed to carbon monoxide. The cytochrome P450 monooxygenase is one of the important detoxification process which works under oxidation mechanism. Cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme is a detoxification agent. It does detoxification by oxidation process. It is also called as mixed function oxidase. It is present in microsomes. The cytochrome P450 is a heme-containing protein, so it has a porphyrin ring at the center. Iron is present. Now, what is this number 450? The 450 nanometers is its absorption peak when this enzyme is subjected to carbon monoxide. Now, why it is important? Because most of the drugs that we take for any diseases are metabolized by cytochrome P450 monooxygenase. Now, so this is a structure of cytochrome P450. The cytochrome P450 will be having alpha helices. These alpha helices are named from A to I. So each alpha helices is labeled with one alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, like that. It will go up to I. So these many alpha helices are arranged like that, and each alpha helices is combined with another by means of the loops. These are the loops. Now we can see there are some beta pleated sheets here that are running. Some are running parallel and some are running anti-parallel to each other. These beta sheets are also combined by means of the loops. Now at the center you can see here the porphyrin ring. This is a porphyrin ring that has iron. So heme is a center prosthetic group. Heme is a prosthetic group that is present at the center of the cytochrome. This is a structure of cytochrome P450 that has alpha helices that are named from A to I, and these alpha helices are connected to one another by means of loops. We also see some of the beta pleated sheets here that are also connected to each other by means of the loops. In the center exists the porphyrin ring and iron is present. So this iron is responsible for bringing about the oxidation by transfer of electrons. The iron status will change from Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3, and this iron status will change, and this is the one that will bring about the oxidation process. Now, how does the reaction occur? As I already mentioned, all drugs are metabolized by cytochrome P450. That is why this system plays a very important role. Now, how does it detox? When all of these are chemical reactions. So, how does this chemical reaction occur? Now, if we consider a drug as RH, this will be requiring the cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme will require a molecule of oxygen. It will be requiring oxygen, and NADPH plus H plus is utilized. Here NADPH plus H plus is utilized. In the previous oxidation reaction, we have seen that there is production of NADH is formed, but here there is utilization of NADPH plus H plus. Now, in the next step, when it undergoes oxidation, monooxygenation means one oxygen molecule will get attached to the drug. So this oxygen will split into two molecules of oxygen. One molecule will get incorporated into the drug. Other molecule will be forming, the another molecule will be forming the water. It will be forming a water molecule. Next, the reducing equivalent that is present. So this and this H2, the H2 that we get is obtained from this reducing equivalent. Now this reducing equivalent will get converted to NADP plus. To repeat again, if RH we consider as a drug, it utilizes oxygen and NADPH plus H plus. Now one of this oxygen molecule, one molecule will form RO. One molecule of oxygen will enter into the drug to form ROH. Then another molecule will form water. The H2 is provided by NADP. This H plus will be providing the water. Now this reducing equivalent will be getting converted to NADP plus. Now the sources of NADP H plus in our body is by the HMP pathway. The HMP pathway is the one. The HMP pathway is the one that will be providing. The HMP pathway is the one that provides NADP H plus to the body. To the body, NADP H plus by the HMP pathway. Now, detailing, we'll see the mechanism. It is not that much detail, but a superficial look about how cytochrome P450 monooxygenase system brings about the detoxification. First, the drug. This drug that is represented by R, it enters into the cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme system. Now, once it enters into the system, it forms a drug enzyme complex. This drug enzyme complex is reduced by NADH plus H plus. Now, this drug enzyme complex is reduced by NADH plus H plus. So, these two H will get an enzyme and it will form a drug enzyme complex. In the next step, the drug enzyme complex is reduced by NADPH plus H plus. In the third step, oxygen enters into this reduced component. Now, once the oxygen enters, there is transfer of electrons from oxygen to the component, and this oxygen will split and one molecule of oxygen will get attached with the H plus ions and result in the formation of a water molecule. It will be forming a water molecule. Now one more oxygen molecule will get associated with the drug. Now this drug is monooxygenated. Once this drug undergoes monooxygenation, this drug will get detached from the enzyme. Now once again the enzyme is free to pick up another molecule of the drug. To repeat with, the cytochrome P450 enzyme complex will pick up the drug and it will form a drug enzyme complex is formed. Now this drug enzyme complex is reduced by NADPH plus H plus. Now here forms the reduced enzyme drug complex. In the next step, oxygen enters into the reaction and that will cause the rearrangement. It will provide electrons or something. It will cause reorganization. One molecule of oxygen will combine with two H plus ions and it is eliminated as water molecule. Another oxygen will get incorporated with the drug. So this drug has undergone monooxygenation. Now this monooxygenized drug will now come out of the enzyme complex. Now the enzyme is once again free to pick up another molecule of the drug. In that way, this cycle goes on till completely this drug is detoxified. Till the drug is detoxified, this cycle will go on. The important thing is that NADPH plus, so there should be constant supply of NADPH plus H plus so that this system works smoothly. Cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme is an inducible enzyme. Inducible enzymes means the substances can increase or decrease the synthesis of that particular enzyme. Those enzymes are called as inducible enzymes. The common inducible substances that increase the activity of cytochrome P450 monooxygenase is phenobarbital. This phenobarbital is a common anticonvulsant. Now, in the patients who are taking phenobarbital, for them the activity of cytochrome P450 monooxygenase is very high. And in those patients, if you want to give some other drugs, that drug will get metabolized very fast. So, in those patients, especially warfarin is an anticoagulant that is commonly given. When warfarin is given to those individuals who are on phenobarbital, this drug will get metabolized very rapidly. So, depending on that, the dosage of the warfarin should be adjusted. The cytochrome P450 species, it is also seen in mitochondria. Now the drug detoxification process that is mediated by cytochrome P450 monooxygenase that we have seen till now occurs in the microsomes. Now one more this type of species is found in mitochondria. What is the function of it? It helps in hydroxylation reactions in the synthesis of steroid hormones. When steroid hormone from ergosterol, from all these things are formed, the hydroxylation of the steroid hormones is done by cytochrome P450 species that are present in mitochondria. The drug-related detoxification occurs in microsomes. The hydroxylation of the steroid hormones occurs in mitochondria. Both of them are completely different. Next, so this completes about the phase 1, that is the oxidation. As I told you, to recap with, oxidation is a most common process of the detoxification. Next, alcohols, aldehydes, aromatic hydrocarbons, aliphatic amines and aromatic amines, these are the ones that will undergo oxidation process and they form their subsequent detoxified substance. Next important that comes under the oxidation process is cytochrome P450 monooxygenase, which is a heme-containing protein. It's bring about its action by monooxygenation. So to drug, all the drugs are catabolized mostly by this cytochrome P450 monooxygenase system. What will happen to the drug? One molecule of oxygen is added. If the drug is R, it will form ROH and that oxygen is provided by the O2. And here the reducing equivalent NADH plus H plus is being utilized and it will form NAD plus is formed. That is about the monooxygenase system. Now the source of NADP H plus in our body is via the HMP pathway. Now we'll go to the phase 2 of this reaction. The phase 2 of detoxification, the phase 1 of detoxification process. The second one is we are done with oxidation. Now we are going to reduction. The substances that are commonly reduced by reduction processes are nitro compounds. These nitro compounds are reduced to amines. Aldehydes or ketones are reduced to alcohols. The aldehydes or ketones are reduced to alcohols. The most common examples that come under this group are the substances that are usually reduced are picric acid, that is will be getting converted to picrimic acid. Para-nitrophenol will be getting converted to para-aminophenol. So the reduction is a process usually done for the nitro compounds and these are reduced to amines. If there are aldehydes or ketones, they are reduced to alcohols. For example, picric acid is converted to picrimic acid. Para-nitrophenol is converted to para-aminophenol. The common substances that are converted are nitrobenzene. The nitrobenzene is converted to aniline. So here the nitrobenzene is converted to aniline, and for this reaction, NADPH is utilized. So this NADPH is utilized, that will be getting converted to NADP plus. So this nitrobenzene is converted to amino group. As I told you, the nitro groups are converted to amino groups. The nitro groups, be it aliphatic or aromatic, the nitrate groups are converted to amino groups. Sometimes they may use reducing equivalents like NADP, H plus. The next one is hydrolysis. The last one in the phase 1. As I already told you, oxidation, reduction and hydrolysis. These are the three main things of phase 1 of detoxification. Next we'll go to hydrolysis. Hydrolysis is a chemical reaction in which addition of water splits the toxic substances into two smaller fragments. So the water will split the substances and break that large substance into two smaller fragments. Now when it splits, how does it split? The hydroxy group is incorporated into one fragment and the H plus is incorporated into other fragment. In that way it is split into two parts. Now what are the things that are usually biotransformed by hydrolysis? Ester bonds, amines, hydrazines, amines, glycosidic bonds and carbamides. So the biotransformers are usually esters, amines, hydrazines, amides, glycosidic bonds and carbamides. These are the ones that are usually biotransformed by hydrolysis. Now, what are the examples of the drugs? So these are commonly, some of the drugs are metabolized by hydrolysis. Aspirin. Aspirin is an analgesic Then procaine and xylocone, these are the anesthetic agents, aliphatic esters and diisopropyl fluorophosphate. So these are the drugs, some of the drugs that are metabolized by hydrolysis. We will see how aspirin, procaine and DFP are metabolized. The aspirin, the chemical name for the acetanilide. The acetanilide will undergo hydrolysis. So what will happen? It will undergo hydrolysis. As I told you, it will break into H plus and OH minus. The OH minus is taken by one compound and H plus is taken by another component. Now this breaks into two. It forms acetic acid. The OH combines with this acetyl group forming acetic acid. The H plus will get associated with this amino group forming NH2. So acetanilide will undergo hydrolysis to form aniline and acetic acid. Next, aspirin. Aspirin is acetyl salicylic acid. This acetyl salicylic acid will undergo hydrolysis so that it will form, this acetyl group is removed. It will be forming salicylic acid and acetic acid. So in that way, next, diisopropyl DFP will undergo hydrolysis to form hydrogen fluoride and dialkyl phosphate. So in that way, the hydrolysis brings about detoxification of some of the drugs like aspirin, some of the analgesics and some of the anesthetic drugs. Next, so we have completed the phase 1 of conjugation. To recap it, the phase 1 of conjugation will have oxidation, reduction and hydrolysis. Oxidation is the most common form of the detoxification of phase 1. The oxidation, it simply utilizes NAD plus and it will be forming NADH plus could be formed. One of the important form of oxidation reaction is cytochrome P450 monooxygenase, that one oxygen molecule gets incorporated into the drug. And the drugs, most of the drugs that we take are usually metabolized by that. Most of the drugs that we take are usually metabolized by cytochrome P450 monooxygenase system. Now this cytochrome P450 is a heme containing enzyme. It is a hemoprotein, contains phosphorus and iron is present at the center. This iron will move to an oxidized and reduced stage that helps in the monooxygenation. And finally, if the drug is RH, it will get converted to ROH. And important is that in this reaction, the reducing equivalent that is NADPH plus H plus. The sources of NADPH plus H plus is HNP pathway. Next, we have seen the reduction. Then we have seen the hydrolysis. Hydrolysis, some of the drugs will undergo detoxification by hydrolysis. Next, we'll go to the phase 2. Now, as I already mentioned, phase 2 means conjugation. The intermediary metabolites that are formed after the phase 1, they undergo conjugation and then they are rendered less toxic. A xenobiotics that has undergone phase 1 reaction is now a new metabolite that contains a reactive chemical group. So we have seen that they are converted into OH and all those things, but what is happening? Finally, we are adding hydroxy group, we are adding amino group and we are adding carboxy group to these substances. So the hydroxy group, amino group and carboxy group, these are being added to the intermediary metabolites. Now the purpose is that we have to detoxify these reactive metabolites also. So these metabolites, they undergo biotransformation with conjugation by conjugating agents. So in phase 1, we have make it less toxic, but even then there are reactive groups like hydroxy group, amino group and carboxy group. Now when these groups conjugate with our conjugating agents, they are rendered completely non-toxic. Now what are the various conjugating agents and how does conjugation occur? We'll see in the next class. Thank you.